We're ready now for exercise 3 on our inverse function handout, where we're going to find an expression for the inverse for each one of these functions. And I wrote on a little yellow card here just the steps that are going to be involved for finding an inverse function. Replace f of x with y, solve for x, switch x and y, and then replace y with f inverse of x. It's step 2 that sometimes is easy, sometimes it's very complicated. I think the work involved is really in step 2, or it's not that much work if it's easy. So let's go ahead and do these. I have them copied onto a separate paper. We'll start with A, where, by the way, each one of these functions is one-to-one and has an inverse, because if you write down the formula for just any old function, it might not be one-to-one, it might not have an inverse, but these do. Okay, so we're going to start thinking about our steps to follow here. So first thing I'm going to do is replace f of x with y. Oh, well, let's look at A first. A is f of x equals 8x plus 6. That's a nice linear function, right? It's in the form mx plus b. And we're going to find its inverse. So I'm going to replace f of x with y. So I'm going to rewrite this in the form y equals 8x plus 6. And then I solve for x. And depending on the function, again, this could be a long, complicated process. It could be short. Here, I can start out by just subtracting 6 from both sides. Y minus 6 is 8x. And then I'm going to divide both sides by 8. Usually there's more than one way to go through these steps, so there isn't like one perfect way to do it. So if you ever feel like you're getting an answer that looks a little different, that might be correct, or if you're wondering if your steps are correct, you can always check with me, check with the tutor. So I have y minus 6 all over 8 equals x. I got x solved for. So now I'm going to switch x and y, right? I'm going to switch the variables. Trouble spelling here. And so x minus 6 over 8 is y, so I'm switching x and y. I'm going to bring that up over to the side. And I like to write y out in front, so I'm just going to, and that's equivalent, right? I just wrote y in front of the x minus 6 over 8. And now I'm going to replace y. So step 4, I'm going to replace y with the f inverse of x notation. F inverse of x is x minus 6 over 8. And that's what we were after. That's actually also a linear function. You could write that as f inverse of x equals 1/8 x minus 6/8. You can also write this in the form mx plus b. I'm not going to even reduce that fraction. I just want you to think about how that's also a linear function. The inverse of a linear function is always going to be another linear function. So there, we did part A. Let's start the second one. So part B now is a little bit more complicated. F of x is this function here, 2 times the cube root of x plus 2 plus 5. And we want to find f inverse. So let's think about our steps. First, replace f of x with y. Okay, I can handle that. And now really the important step, the hard step, solve for x, or that can be hard, sometimes it's easy. Now in order to solve for x here, I got to work my way back into x. I want to isolate that x. And if you're familiar with order of operations are what we usually think of when we plug in a number for x, right? You add 2, then you take the cube root, then you multiply by this 2, then you add 5. So when we're solving for x, we're reversing those order of operation rules. So the first thing we do in solving would be the last operation to be performed if we were plugging in. So we actually want to undo that plus 5 first. I'm going to subtract 5 from both sides. And now I'm down to 2 times the cube root. Now before I get into the cube root, I next want to get rid of this 2. It's 2 times the cube root, so I want to divide both sides by 2. Y minus 5 over 2 is going to be 2 cube root of x plus 2 over 2. I'll write out that step. So y minus 5 over 2, the 2's cancel, is just the cube root of x plus 2. Now I want the cube root sign to go away, and the way I undo cube rooting is I cube, or I raise to the 3rd power. I'm going to raise both sides to the 3rd power. Y minus 5 over 2 cubed equals the cube root of x plus 2 cubed. Let me bring it up over here. So I have y minus 5 over 2 in parentheses cubed equals x plus 2, because the cube root and cubing cancel out. Notice the left-hand side's getting more complicated as we go along. The right-hand side's getting less complicated. You don't have to multiply out this left-hand side. We're just going to kind of leave it. Let's not worry so much about simplifying, even though I'm not sure there's much you could do to simplify. It would just become a big mess. Now we're not done yet, right? We still have to subtract that 2 on the right. So y minus 5 over 2 to the 3rd minus 2 is going to be x. And I have x solved for. So we accomplished our second step. Now we want to switch x and y. And let's see, I get x minus 5 over 2 to the 3rd minus 2 equals y. And I'm just about done. I want to bring in my F inverse notation. Again, if you end up with y on the right, traditionally we write y on the left, so I'm going to recopy this as y equals x minus 5 over 2 to the 3rd minus 2. And now I'm going to introduce my F inverse of x notation for y. And I'm really just recopying the right. Now, please don't tell me you're at all tempted to cancel these two 2's, because that's absolutely not happening here. We're not multiplying fractions. And there's really nothing reasonable to do with that. We just want to leave it the way it is. There's the inverse function for that original function f. And what you might notice is there's there's a lot of similarities. There was a plus 5 in that function. Somewhere in the inverse there's a subtract 5, right? There was a cube root in the function. Somewhere in the inverse there's cubing. There's all these inverse operations going on, but they have to be in the right order. There's multiplication by 2 here. There's division by 2 here. So the algebra of the steps is essential so that we get the order of operations correct. Getting the algebra correct is essential. So that's B, and I think I'm going to leave C for the next video segment. So we've done 2, we got 1 more to go.